This is actually only me doing it, but she decided to come up in case I get out of hand. Or moral support, I'll look at it that way. Good morning, Holy Comforter. Good morning. Why am I here? That's a serious question. Why am I up here? Why are there a parade of people coming up every week to talk about why we support Holy Comforter? I'll tell you why. It's the magical season that we call pledge season. It's that time before Christmas, before you've paid your taxes, and you might be feeling generous. So we're here to talk to you about why you should support Holy Comforter. Pledge season is a serious business. There are no admission fees for coming to church. Nobody had a ticket taker out front to get you in. What we see instead is a sign outside that says, "Welcome home." And we could, I guess, amend the sign to say, "Welcome home, write a check for the electric bill." Or, "Welcome home, remember to tip your preacher." I know Cindy at home is cheering for that one, but that might be a little bit too blunt. So instead, Fred Hoogland recruited people like me to come and tell you about why we love and support Holy Comforter, in hopes it'll both enlighten you and encourage your own generosity. And now that you know why I'm here, let me tell you about why my wife and I support Holy Comforter. To lay the groundwork for that story, though, I want to tell you about 3 generations of women. And for those of you who read a lot of recipes online like I do, yes, this is where you have to hear the family history before we give you the ingredients. The first generation was my Aunt Bobby. She was a beautiful, kind, and gentle woman. She was a breast cancer survivor, but she didn't survive the boomerang when it came back. Oh, I'm sorry. That's why you're really up here. Her loss was nearly as hard to me as the loss of her sister, my mother, because in a way, Aunt Bobby was my mom too. See, back in 1961, after having already given birth to 2 daughters, my Aunt Bobby's 3rd child was born, a boy. My mom was also pregnant at the time, and I was born later that year. I'm still here, but my cousin didn't survive infancy. As you can imagine, that was very hard on Aunt Bobby, losing her only son, even as her sister celebrated the birth of a healthy boy, one who even back then was bald and pudgy. But my mom loved sharing, and she shared me with her sister. In many ways, I was the son Aunt Bobby didn't have. And I'd like to think that the glorious childhood summers and weekends that I spent with Aunt Bobby and Uncle Charles and my 2 cousin sisters was as great a gift to her as it was to me. The next generation is my wife, known affectionately to our grandsons as Shell. In the year before COVID, I guess it would be inappropriate for us to refer to that as BC, Shell wanted to visit Holy Comforter and then make it a regular thing. I already had a pretty substantial history with Holy Comforter, going all the way back to its prehistory with Bill Coleman and some others who met with Cindy to discuss a possible location for the church that was then only in the planning stages. I'm not sure why Cindy included a smart-alecky writer in that group, but I'm glad she did. And more recently, Cindy had been exceptionally kind to me at a really difficult, challenging time. So coming to her church seemed like a good idea, and of course I wanted to keep Shell happy. So here we are. Early in the COVID shutdowns, Shell was very unhappy when they closed her gym. We were all disappointed we had to close the church, but she was especially disappointed they had to close her gym. I saw it as an opportunity to save money. After all, with it closed, we could cancel our membership and not have to have those dues deducted every month. But she decided to keep paying it. As she put it, "When all this is over, I want it to still be there." The 3rd generation I'll tell you about is my youngest daughter, Annie. She shared a profound piece of wisdom with me recently, and bits of the phrase will sound very familiar at Holy Comforter. It's a quote from the writer Alicia Dow in her novel, The Sound of Stars. "Life is short, but it's the longest thing you'll ever do. So give more than you take and be kind." Now you're probably saying, "Thanks for the stories, Barry, but what in the world does all that have to do with why you give to Holy Comforter, and why should that make me reach for my checkbook?" Well, we often talk about our gifts being time, talents, and treasure, right? When my mother loaned me to my Aunt Bobby, she gave her a gift of time, time to love and time to heal. Sorry about that. When my wife paid dues for a closed gym, supporting it in hopes that it would help them reopen someday, she not only shared treasure, but she demonstrated to me that we should support the things that are important to us, not just because they're important to us now, but because we want them to endure and thrive and grow. It's like Carol Kane said here a couple of weeks ago, we want Holy Comforters to survive and thrive. That's why at the start of the pandemic, my wife and I increased our pledge to Holy Comforter. The church is important to all of us, and our support to Holy Comforter is a demonstration that we want it to endure and thrive for future generations, like the young man who has his first communion today. And when my daughter shared that quote, a gift from the talent of a writer, it was in the midst of talking to her dad about a personal challenge she's facing that reminds us of life's fragile and fleeting nature. The second part of that quote, give more than you take and be kind, is particularly valuable. But I don't think any of us here can give more to Holy Comforter than we take from it. And that's not because of our relative wealth, but because of the incredible gifts that we all receive from being part of this church home. While we might not be able to give more than we take, it's certainly worth trying. So, welcome home and send in your pledge card.